On this week's episode of You Can't Comp This, we are going through all of the trades from trade deadline. How's that going to impact people's collections? Are trade prices going up? Are players that weren't traded going up? All that and more coming up. Russell, how are you on this? We're recording on a Saturday night now. It's been a minute.
It's been a minute, definitely, but so much has happened since we've chatted, so it's good to see you, mate.
That's it. It's been a while. We're sort of decompressing after after our time with Lane. That was a lot to take in with the hobby.
Yeah, look, fantastic guest, and I felt like I learned so much just listening to that. And to be honest, I haven't re-listened to all of it, but I re-listened to some of it. And I actually think he had a lot of, nuggets to sort of share with people. So, and some really interesting insights too. So if you haven't heard it, go back and listen to the last two episodes because
that was a lot of fun and very insightful. Yeah, you're right. From a pillar of the community, I'd say too, Lane.
Yeah, definitely.
And an innovator, I guess, is probably the other thing I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, the NBA's exploded. I guess the only surprise is the Lakers did nothing.
Well, they can't trade Westbrook. No one wants him. So was it really a surprise?
There were talks of this John Wall nonsense going around. So I'm sure there are a few people at PC John Wall going, please get him active on a roster. That'd be great.
Houston doesn't want Westbrook again. That's done.
Yeah, Houston's got enough problems. Speaking of problem players, no Zion watch this week.
No, I think we can give that a break.
I think we can give it a break, but there might be some light at the end of the tunnel after we discuss some of the movement that's been happening.
Yep.
But the biggest story is Ben Simmons' watch.
Yep.
It's over. He's going to be off the sidelines.
Well, hopefully.
You'd hope. Otherwise, he's just going to sit on the bench in a different team.
Yeah.
All right. So on February the 4th, the Blazers traded Norman Powell and was it Robert Covington to the Clippers. In return, the Blazers got Bledsoe, Winslow, and Keon Johnson. I was waiting for something O at the end, but it's not. Or Keon, I can't make that.
Doesn't work. No, that's okay.
But yeah, they could have stayed with the O and a 2025 second round pick. Look, that's probably not the most exciting of trades.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone out there's sort of PCing Covington or Powell, but yeah, any thoughts on this one?
Oh, look, I mean, from an NBA perspective, I think the Clippers won this trade just for the fact that they got rid of Bledsoe in his contract and they picked up two defenders that can cross, multiple positions. So from, my perspective, the Blazers have definitely been fleeced. I'm not really too sure why they're doing this other than trying to blow it up. Maybe picking up Bledsoe helps them lose some more games.
well, how long at this point do you think I suppose we'll get round to this? Are the Blazers going to blow it up?
I think they're trying. I mean, they didn't move.
This is
Lillard, like, and that was the one that I was waiting for.
We'll call this the match on the fuse because I don't think this is the bit where it blows up.
I just think maybe they just didn't have the stomach to, completely blow it up. Or they were kind of like, oh, well, we'll do half, but...
they're threatening with a stick of dynamite. Like, we're going to do it, and then accidentally light it.
I think they're too scared to light it, though, like...
I think, there won't be a timer on it. There's pretty much, we'll call it Dame time.
Kevin O'Connor's been calling for the Blazers to be, blown up for years. So I can just sort of hear him like, saying that,
for this team to be moved.
Blow it up in my ears, as I sort of look at the Blazers roster now. Like, I have no idea what they're doing. Look, I think this is going to be really hard for me because I love talking about trades just, all day. And to be honest, I used to change my roster around to make sure that I had trade deadline day off. It was kind of like my Christmas day, to be honest. So this is just like my Bledsoe. I think, that's really the end of him. I don't really see him have any sort of significant NBA moments moving forward. I think also, too, there's probably some people out there that have been hanging on to Winslow, hoping this guy's, kind of come good. And it seemed like, he had this sort of reemergence in Memphis, and then you were hoping that something was going to happen in Clippers because they're a pretty solid organization. But
it just doesn't seem to be happening.
Yeah, what happens to him now in Portland, I'm really not too sure. I personally think the person who's got the most collection potential now is Powell because if the Clippers, if everything falls right into place. I actually think Powell's one of their best players. I would put him in their top 3 players. And
Yeah.
so he could have some really amazing moments. And he's actually playing really good basketball at the moment too. So I think I really rate the Clippers front office. I think that they've got everything in order. And, since Mr. Microsoft has come on board for the Clippers there, he's been cheering them on to victories, but he's also, really organized everything. And you can kind of tell that all their analytics and their salary cap management, everything's in place there. So I think, the Clippers that's
They've
just a
won
home
that.
run. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, they probably did win it, but I'm not going to give them too much credit because they are the other LA team. So, that was pretty quiet. A sneaky sort of position. What would you call this one on February 7th? The Cavs have got
I love
Caris
this trade. This is
LeVert,
one of my favorite trades, actually.
and the Pacers get Ricky Rubio. I mean,
Yeah.
Ricky Rubio, he's kind of getting passed around a lot. Look,
So
I don't know.
Rubio's out for the year. So essentially, this is the Pacers hoisting up the white flag. And it's
Yeah.
not something that they've traditionally done. They've always publicly said that we'll never tank. We'll always, try and rebuild as we're being, competitive. So I think that's a really significant trade for them. And in terms of the Cavaliers' perspective, I love this because they've way exceeded all of their expectations this year, and they've had injuries on top of that. So they've already picked up Rondo. Now they've added Caris LeVert. All the picks that they threw in, 2
It's
second
interesting.
rounders and a lottery protected first round pick. I've got no troubles with them losing those assets to get LeVert. I think he's got a lot of potential, but he's had a lot of injury issues. So, and again, if we sort of flip this back to, card collecting, there's nothing here that sort of, really makes me excited. I think LeVert is behind, 2 really big dogs at the moment in Cleveland in terms of Garland and Mobley. So, I don't really see anything there that's, really making me excited, hobby-wise. Yeah.
Interesting positioning, and I don't know Ricky Rubio's contract status, but I mean, he'd be handy to have when he comes back from injury.
Yeah, I do think that he's a handy player, but I also would say that he's
not young anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Rubio is a handy piece to have. I mean, depending on his contract status, he could be a veteran. He's no spring chicken, but he's definitely serviceable. And look, a lot of these young point guards probably need a mentor. That's why the Cavs got Rondo.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Rubio obviously playing that veteran kind of role for a young roster, and the Pacers might do well to sort of utilize that, I guess. And I mean, you're right. LeVert is behind some starters, but you're right there on the point that they've also had injury problems. So it might be an opportunity for him. Look, they might be using him as another piece or trying to figure out what their piece is going to be.
Yeah, look, and I think he's going to have a role with them. But I think what I was just saying is that in terms of are you going out and stockpiling Caris LeVert rookie cards at the moment, I probably
say no.
Yeah, I wouldn't be. I mean, because
I might go through a box and see if I've got any, but I'm not going out to buy any.
Yeah, and that's fine. I think that's totally fine. But I think at the moment, really you're looking at Garland, and then you should be looking at Mobley because I think that's where, the action is. So
clearly that's where the value is at the moment. And once again, it's not a bad trade, but as far as card wise, collecting wise, it's probably it's not rocking the market. That's for sure.
Definitely not.
On to the first big trade. I guess the first big ticket trade, which was on February 8th.
Yeah.
This is where I think we'll insert are the Blazers going to blow it up? The Pelicans received CJ McCollum.
Yeah.
Larry Nance Jr. and Tony Snell.
Yeah. 3 very serviceable NBA players.
Well, CJ McCollum, he's been great while Lillard's been injured, and over the years he's been sort of Damian Lillard's partner in crime.
Yeah.
Right? So the same way Klay Thompson is to Steph Curry. So these two are sort of inseparable, and then you see this happen. So the question is, how unhappy is Dame? How injured is Dame? What are the Trailblazers doing? Because they've given these 3 players to the Pelicans, and in exchange, the Blazers got Josh Hart, Mikhail Alexander Walker, Thomas Satoransky, and D.D. Luzada, who I've never heard of,
I
by
was
the
going to
way.
say the same thing, mate. Don't feel bad if you've never heard of this guy.
And the Blazers also got a 2022 first round draft pick protected.
Yeah.
And then 2026 and 27, they get the better of the draft pick, whoever's got the better draft pick out of them and the Pelicans.
Yeah.
With their first, second round draft pick. Yeah. Like CJ McCollum on the move.
Yeah.
For 3/5 of nothing. Let's be real. Like, there is no one of McCollum's status in that trade.
Definitely.
They let him go for a first round pick, effectively, and some pieces.
Yeah. And then, as we subsequently find out, Alexander Walker gets moved again. So I think...
And I think Satoransky as well. Like, a couple of them get moved. The Blazers are moving pieces around. Is this to blow it up, or is this to actually make a serious move?
Yeah, I think they're definitely acquiring future assets. But my sort of overall takeaway from this is that this to me is like New Orleans and Anthony Davis all over again, when they didn't take their time and put young draft picks around him. They were trying to like draft up for like Tyreek Evans, and then they were getting Drew Holiday, and they got that Serbian center from Houston. What was that guy's name? Like, all these dudes they were just
getting pieces and trying
to win. Like, this to me just like stinks of that. Like, I didn't like their trade in the offseason when they gave away their center, like for Steven Adams. Like, I think they should have kept Adams. They should have kept that draft asset that they traded away to Memphis. Like, I don't know.
I feel like the Blazers are about to throw a bunch of darts at a dartboard, and hope they can lure someone in the off season. I think this season's been deemed a write-off due to obviously them not winning games.
Yeah,
but
This to me is like the Diet Coke of blowing up a team. You know what I mean? They're just like, they want to have a Coke, but they don't want to have a full one.
There's not much to blow up. Getting rid of CJ is a pretty big.
I think they should have done Dame. That to me is the piece that like needed to go.
I don't think they were going to give up Dame for cents on the dollar, because they've given up CJ for 3/5 of nothing. And that's no offense to these players, but I thought CJ McCollum would attract quite a bit of, I don't know, some assets at the very least.
Legit question. So what do you think that they would have got, like an unprotected first round pick, or do you think they would have got
maybe it depends how bad. I mean, we know the Pelicans are going to get a pretty high pick. They're going to get a lottery, like a top 10 pick. I don't know. I want some more security. Like, I don't know. I thought it'd be like an Ingram. Like, I'd almost put McCollum up as an Ingram style piece. Like, the guy can put up numbers.
Yeah.
Not to say that Ingram's crazy good, but he's also that all-star level. Their status, their key scorer.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like they haven't tried to shop CJ McCollum around, and they just got rid of him. They're trying to acquire these assets. These picks are obviously they're trying to get a deal done in the off season. And it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Hobby wise, who matters here? Do you think?
Hobby wise, I think I don't know. You might have some. I've got a couple of Larry Nance Juniors in a tub somewhere. But yeah, no, there's no. CJ McCollum's probably the only one that sticks out. Like anyone that but he doesn't really attract much in the market. Like, I think it's a league red flag, I guess.
Yeah.
For the Blazers. But I mean, do you know who benefits out of this? Potentially Zion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you've got a guard, you've got Ingram, you've got Zion, you've got a very potent offense here.
Valanciunas, you've got now McCollum there.
You get all these guys healthy, you're actually looking at quite an interesting lineup.
Yeah. Look, I think for me, the highest peak that McCollum could go would be, say, 20% what he's currently sitting at for his cards. I don't see anything, more than that. And the only way he would even go 20% above is if they somehow magically all get healthy, Zion comes back and he's looking like peak Sean Kemp. and then they go to like the second or the third round of the playoffs. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
think realistically, there's nothing really here that's, again, making me like go crazy. The only one I do want to talk about, but I think we should talk about him later, is Nikhil Alexander-Walker, because
Yep.
I still think he's young enough of a prospect and kind of like rangy enough to still be, buying into him.
Yep.
And yeah, let's save that for later, though. I
Yeah.
think.
I'm
Yeah.
after the show. I think I might even Google who DD Luzada is.
Nah, don't worry about
it.
it.
Yeah, look, I actually think that the most impact hobby wise, potentially, as I said, is not on this trade itself. It's Zion.
Sure.
Because if this strengthens the Pelicans
Yeah.
to be a force to be reckoned with, then clearly Zion is going to be a key part of that. So
yeah. And look, I know we said we weren't going to do Zion Watch this show, but he has gone down even further. So, maybe you're right in putting those like two pieces together that actually this could be very important for
this
a lot of people's investments.
Is this the bottom of the diff?
Yeah.
That question will be asked later in the year.
Yeah, yeah.
And it will be asked multiple times, I'm sure, as it keeps dipping. Anyway,
I've already scrolled on, mate. Let's move on. The next one is probably
big one.
Yeah, this is good.
Another big one, and this is good on a lot of levels. So, the Kings are making moves. Buddy Hield is finally gone, and he has gone to the Pacers. But that is not the headline here. Haliburton.
Yeah.
What are the Kings doing?
Yeah.
Is he the piece? Like, I thought he was like their future star material.
So the last 3 years they've drafted point guards, and I have to admit, from my perspective, that's been incredibly confusing, and it always led me to think that something else was going to happen. So this is the something else that's going to happen.
And let's not forget Tristan Thompson, because he's sort of, since his time in Cleveland, he has floated around a bit and been pretty unknown. He's been moved onto the Pacers.
I'm not going to lose any sleep about losing Double T. I think, he's a good big man. He's a serviceable guy, but, you can...
I think what you've gained...
Sabonis, Holmes is going to fill in that role totally fine, and you're not going to, worry about that. Can I just add one more piece into the Kings, like in terms of their strategy? Because I think that the Kings have been bad for a very long time, and we've correctly given them criticism. So the Bagley draft pick is probably one of the worst draft picks that's happened in the last 15 to 20 years.
Well, that's been corrected, hasn't it?
Well, I think what the actual narrative here is that the last 3 years, the Kings have taken the best player available.
Yeah.
And in terms of rebuilding a franchise and, doing it the quote unquote right way, that is incredibly debatable. But I think what you can't go past is they've added the best talent that they possibly could have done to their roster with the future understanding that they'll flip it into something else. And this is exactly what they've done. So I think that's, to me, like commendable, because they've actually had a plan, a 3-year plan, and they've stuck to it. And I mean, look, it's one game.
Rare. That's actually very rare. You're right.
For the Kings, right? Especially for the Kings. Like, let's be honest, like they've been an absolute circus, really since like Weber left. They really haven't done, anything of significance.
No, that's true. That's very true.
And look, it's only been one game, but Sabonis and Fox looked amazing together. And Fox was playing off Sabonis, and Sabonis was playing off Fox. So what else can you ask for from, your two best players?
Yeah. And look, I mean, in addition to Sabonis, obviously you got the Kings get a 2023 second round pick. Justin Holiday and Jeremy Lamb. But obviously the key piece here is DeMontis Sabonis.
Yeah.
Card value wise, there's a few things to unpack here, I think.
Yeah, sure. Let's go.
The first of which, actually, no, I'll go to Haliburton last.
Yeah, that's fine.
Sabonis, does it put him on the map?
Look, I think there's already a faction of people that love this guy and been collecting him and being very happy to collect him.
Yep.
Do I think he's going to get a 50% bump in his trade value, in his card value now? No, I definitely don't think that. But if the Kings resurrect their season and they go to the playoffs, I think you're going to see like a nice, like juicy bump for that guy.
Yep.
I definitely don't think you're going to lose value on him because of the fact that he was in Indiana, which is a small market. So he's gone to Sacramento, which is a bigger market,
bigger, but small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, that's how I feel about Sabonis. So, definitely don't be worried if you're a Sabonis, collector and, he's been traded to the Kings. I don't I don't really see.
You're going to get a few token Kings fans that are like, has anyone got any Sabonis's? But there's,
the Pacers aren't that much better than the Kings. Like, let's be honest here. In terms of performance the last few years, like I don't really. It's not like being traded from the Clippers to the Lakers or something like that.
Yeah, or like a Celtics or I know what you mean. Yeah, it's not one of those. It's not. We're not looking at the top of the table. We're not looking at the biggest markets. It's not Chicago.
I feel like that sledge to your Lakers totally went over your head then. I was actually saying in this instance, the Clippers were the awesome team and the Lakers are like the joke team.
I don't want to talk about the Lakers anymore. They've given up. I feel like I'm not even going to. No.
All right, let's get back on track.
I was going to say there's no talk of the Lakers tonight because they did nothing at trade deadline. Nothing. They didn't even try and trade THT. Anyway. Haliburton.
Yeah.
Is this good or bad?
What you tell me your thoughts because I'm heavily invested into this guy, so I'm biased. So I want to hear what you have to say first.
All right. So he has been, as far as his rookie class goes, he's become one of the more sought after players.
Yeah.
I don't know if moving to the Pacers helps him.
Yeah.
I actually feel like it sort of detracts quite a bit. Obviously, it depends on how well the Pacers perform or don't perform.
Yeah.
And he is still a rook, so he's just a young player. But I don't think this kind of move can help a player in his shoes because he was already getting headline minutes.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like he was already getting the exposure as a young player that the players want. You want the opportunity to perform, and he's been given those opportunities and he's been performing. Changing teams doesn't really fix that.
Okay.
Because he's already getting opportunities, so he might get new opportunities, and that's to be seen. But I don't know. I think from my perspective, it's more of and you've already said how well they work together in the sample size of one, but Fox. Looks like Fox is the guard they've chose to keep.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. And now I think Fox's value is the one that we might see a bit of a positive spike with.
Yeah.
Which is probably good because I'm guessing your Fox is one of your PCs.
Fox is my main PC. So for me, look, to be honest, if he goes up, he goes up, and if he goes down, then I buy more of him because it's cheaper. Like that's where I'm at.
Exactly right. Like
but of course, I would love to see him go up. That would be really nice.
But I guess he gets his time in the sun. This is the good thing is he started in Sacramento, and now he's been told, hey, you're going to be of the guards we've drafted. You're the one we're focused on. You're performing. We're keeping you.
Look. So my perspective on this is that I think the Kings were willing to move either Fox, Haliburton, or Davion Mitchell. That was my honest feeling.
Yep.
And I think that the Pacers had the choice between Haliburton and Fox, and they went for Haliburton. And the guys on the Ringer actually spoke about this and spoke about it really eloquently. And what they put it down to was that Rick Carlisle, who's the coach of the Pacers, is very much a point guard coach. But he also likes point guards to play in a very particular way. So the classic Rick Carlisle moment for me, and I remember this like vividly in the finals, he was telling Jason Kidd which plays to run. So if you're telling and micromanaging an Hall of Fame all-time point guard, who's probably one of the most cerebral point guards that, we've had for, in our generation, it's not really that surprising to me that he took Haliburton over Fox. I think there's going to be a massive adjustment period for Haliburton because he's gone from a coach who was just like run and gun and who essentially cut his teeth on the 7 seconds or less thing with, Alvin Gentry.
Yeah.
So now he's going to the opposite where, their pace is, half, and then he's going to be dictated, by a coach, to call plays.
And it's like these are the plays you have to run.
Yeah. So I personally can see, even though he had a really good, first game, I think has he played a second game? I'm not too sure. I can see him, really struggling in that sort of change of environment. But so look, the reason I also chose to PC Haliburton is because the year before in the draft, I was going to PC the person who slid the furthest down the draft, and that
Yeah.
person was Bol Bol. But I got cold feet and I backed out. But I thought about it really long and hard. So I think
Yeah.
now I look back on that, that was a mistake. So then the second year that happened, the person that slid was Haliburton, and he slid to the Kings. And for me, that was kind of like a sweet thing because I'd already
Yeah.
had a fair bit of like King stuff on my PC, so that kind of made it easy for me. But the feeling I sort of had with Halliburton was that the situation wasn't right for him, and
Yeah.
he was going to be moved or Fox was going to be moved, and it would kind of like even out in the long run. So I
Mm.
still feel like this again with him going to Indiana. But my only caveat to that too is Indiana doesn't have a great track record of holding on to stars. So
Yeah.
they didn't hold on to Paul George. They didn't hold on to Victor Oladipo. They haven't held on to Domantas Sabonis.
They've got Turner, and Turner's not happy. So,
I think they've chosen Turner over Sabonis.
well, that was the thing, right? Whoever
Yeah,
got dealt at the trade before the
yeah,
trade deadline was the other was going to be happy.
yeah. So I would probably also say too, look, if you're PC Halliburton and you're kind of like, where is this guy at? I would probably keep in the back of your mind, revisit this in 3 years because he's
Yeah.
probably going to be moved again. And the other thing that the Pacers do, well is they move people to markets that are favorable. Like I don't see them as a spiteful franchise that just trades people off. I actually think they try to move people into, the right spots.
Yeah. Or
So
like the Spurs that won't do anything to. So yeah, I know.
yeah, so I feel still pretty good about, collecting Halburton. I'm still going to be picking him up, every now and again.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I'm buying Fox at the moment. That's just I think he's better value, but I,
Yeah.
I could I'm very
Yeah.
biased, so I could be
Look,
way wrong about this. Yeah,
yeah. Look, I definitely think that Fox is the winner, card value wise,
yeah,
from this trade, and he's not even part of the trade.
yeah. No,
It's a
definitely not.
contested piece that moves away, it brings
Yeah,
him into the spotlight.
and it
Yeah,
evens out their
Sabonis is
team so
probably
well.
yeah. Sabonis will hover. Buddy Hield, do you reckon he gets any love changing franchises? I don't think he or Thompson really get much out of this, and Halliburton, as you said, like just revisit it. He'll probably be shipped elsewhere, and his rookie year stuff will sort of do what it does based on his performance anyway. So if he
Yeah,
does get traded to a bigger market, he'd be safer anyway.
yeah. Look, I'm just looking up how many years on Buddy Hield his contract has got because where Buddy Hield would explode is if he's bought out and he's waived, and then he goes to the Lakers. Because being honest,
That's the only thing that's going to save the Lakers season right now.
well, the Lakers were linked to Buddy, for a long time.
I was going to say it's been happening a lot. It's been
Yeah.
can't see.
So he's got 21, 22, 22, 23, 23, 24. So there's absolutely no way he's getting bought out.
He's not being bought out.
Yeah. Sorry,
Yep.
Lakers.
It's all right. I'm sure there'll be a buyout market somewhere. Maybe one of these other trades we'll see the Lakers have some potential buyout people. We can move along to a massive trade unless you want to keep going on about Haliburton.
No. Let's go to February 9.
This is massive. The Heat have got a 2026 second round pick.
Yeah.
In exchange for KZ Okpala.
Yeah.
Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, that's good enough, man.
That's good enough. Who's KZ Okpala?
So he's essentially like a young prospect that the Heat were holding on to. He
2019 second round pick. Okay.
Hadn't played a lot of minutes. He played a fair bit in the G League. Look, there is, some guys in our group who are PCing him. I don't think he's a bad PC, despite the fact he's been traded. He's actually been subsequently waived. That's actually not in the in the trade sheet, but he got waived by the Thunder.
Well, he does. He's got a career average of 3.7 points per game and 2 rebounds. So he's sort of probably not on the.
Look, I'm extremely high on Denver's scouting department, and I'm higher on Miami because, like, if you look at the Miami Heat team,
this is true.
Yeah, they really do well finding prospects out of the fringes. So I don't think it's time to give up on KZ. If you really, really believe in him, you might find he dips down a little bit now he's been waived. He'll be back.
Pick up a couple of copies. Yeah, you reckon he'll be back in the league? Yep.
He's still young enough, man. It's too soon to give up on him.
All right.
So yeah,
And this is probably from an Aussie perspective. This is
yeah,
a bit of a. I don't know if it's a sad one. Joe Ingles is no longer on the Jazz.
yeah. And look, I actually think the Jazz were lucky to deal him because he
Yeah.
blew out his knee 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
The whole Danny Ainge, joining the Jazz front office, the whole idea was that he would go there and shake that team up,
And he shook.
and Ingles was you know, on the list to be traded for a better prospect. So it's just a bit
Yeah.
unfortunate that he blew out his knee
Yeah,
until
it
the
is.
return they got for it. But that takes us sort of full circle to Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who I was talking about, before, said save it for later. So this is the save it for later.
Well, and Hernan Gomez was also traded and then retraded. This is from the Spurs. So
yeah, look,
it's a lot of moving and moving.
If the Jazz have a deep playoff run and Alexander Walker has a big part of that, there's going to be a lot of movement for that guy. So again, if you like prospecting, I think Nickeil Alexander-Walker is someone you can put onto your shortlist. If you've already PC'd him and you've got a stack of him, I would hold it for now. I'm definitely not selling at the moment. He's a very strong hold and buy for me at the moment.
Yeah.
There's not many players that go from that position of being on a team that's full of young backcourt guns on a bad team to a very good playoff team that needs play in the backcourt straight away. Like, this is a huge opportunity for him. If he pulls this off and the Jazz do really well, I think there's a lot of movement to be had there for him. So, I love prospecting and I've got a little bit of this guy, but now that this has happened, I wish I had a whole lot more of him. I really like this guy a lot.
Now onto our mate Joe.
Yeah.
Is he going to play any games in Portland, or is he going to end up back in Utah? That's more rumor than anything else. But do you know what I mean? Like,
I don't think it matters, man. I mean, he's out for at least 12 months.
That's what I mean. Like, by then he'll be like, you'd renew his contract and or not renew his contract, waive him, and then he'll just re-sign with Utah when he's fit and healthy.
Yeah, I just think that.
I don't think it matters. I think his career is kind of cooked now. But he's 30. He's 34, and he's just done his knee, so he'll be 35, going on 36 when he's able to play again.
I think he's got the type of body and game that is kind of like an old man game. So.
Yeah, oh, look, he could do the Klay Thompson, take 4 dribbles in a game and score 30 points.
Yeah.
And just hit 10 threes.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly. But I think just from an Aussie perspective, it's sad not seeing Jingles anymore, but I don't think in the card market world
he's not going to move up or down. I think if you've invested heaps into Jingles, it's okay.
I think if you collect Jingles, you're still going to collect him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be all Jazz cards anyway. It's Aussies wanting Aussie players. Yeah. It's not a frontline thing. Sadaransky
doesn't move the needle for me.
No. Alexander Walker's probably the only one, isn't he?
Yeah. Look, I really like Hernan Gomez. I think he's an absolute baller. Again, for them to fill 2 spots from essentially just losing Ingles, who's injured.
Yeah.
To be honest, they've really won this trade, hands down for me.
Who's Elijah Hughes?
He's a young prospect that the Jazz picked up. He's a big guy.
Any good?
Look, he's stuck behind, such a deep veteran team. Look, I haven't seen a lot of him, to be honest.
Yeah.
He's a big boy.
They're just a piece. I'm just trying to paint a picture now what the Blazers are doing, and I don't think they've teased it. I think they've lit the stick of dynamite.
I still think it's the Diet Coke version, man. Honestly, they needed to move on. Like, they needed to, like...
The Diet Coke. Do you know what? I've got an image in my head now. You're like, this is the Diet Coke version, and then Damian Lillard's just sitting there with a packet of Mentos. They're just ready for the Coke bottle to explode.
No, I think they need to get rid of Boston and Bear. They need to get rid of Lillard. They need to do it properly. Like, it's...
Wait for the off-season. Lillard will lose his... Yeah, he'll just lose it. Yeah.
Okay, everybody, thank you so much for listening to part 1 of this episode. We're going to come back on Wednesday with part 2, and we'll break down the rest of the trade deadline deals. Thank you again for listening, and we'll catch you all really soon. If you would like to connect with us, please hit us up on Twitter, youcantcompthis, on Instagram, youcantcompthis, Gmail, youcantcompthis@gmail.com, and also find us on Facebook, YouCan'tCompThis.